Okay. So, after the loss in the Western Conference Finals to the Rockets and missing out on going up against Larry Bird again in 1986, we get to the 87 season, and the Lakers make it to the finals again to go up against the Celtics.
One of the biggest questions I have about this year is because Magic Johnson has been great pretty much his whole career, but do you think this is his greatest season ever? This year he won MVP, Finals MVP, a championship, and he was averaging 24, 12, and 6. Like, that is pretty insane.
What did he do in the finals? What were his finals numbers? The final stats numbers.
His finals, he had a 22-point, 20 assist game in game 2 of that finals. That's fucking insane. And that to show off like that in the NBA finals, that's dope.
All right, so
let me tell you his stats though, like what he averaged.
Can I share a thought with you?
Yeah.
I think that the bias that's put on scoring is complete horseshit. Because look at all the other times now that I've said I think Magic was probably superior statistically and by the numbers should have gotten the Finals MVP. And here we are. We know he got the Finals MVP in this, and I see his point total is something like 7 or 8 points higher than what it usually is.
This year,
and the rebounds are the same, the steals are the same, the field goal percentage is the same. It's literally all the same.
But my whole thing is that means that's a whole nother level of dominance at that point. So, and I'll give you an example, but just a little bit of like backstory about that. So going into the 87 season, I'm pretty sure Pat Riley spoke to Magic separately and said that they're gonna want him to work on his scoring more or be more of a attacker. And he one of the funny quotes he says was, "Did you speak to Kareem about that?" Because it was pretty much like he knows that was his job pretty much, and he completely took that on, and for a whole season he averaged 24 and 12. Not a lot of people have done that in their career. So now my thing is when we start
I'm sure what's the list of guys? I'm sure the number's real low. Keep talking, but I'm pretty sure the list is very small of guys who have
done that for a complete
just
season.
12 assists.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm sure that's like Oscar Robertson territory when we're talking about like those crazy numbers like that, because that's definitely not normal. So my whole thing is when you go from averaging 18 and 12, that's like you're looking at and I'm not saying because Magic is significantly better than this because of all the other stuff that he can do too, with the rebounder. But like I'm just talking about from the perspective of trying to compare players. You look at that 24 and 12 year, and then he's also was averaging pretty much. He averaged through that playoffs 22 and 12. When you're talking about a scorer who can pass like that, that's just a dominating player. And we were talking about this off mic, but I compared it to LeBron James' season this year, and LeBron's averaging 26 and 11 with 8 rebounds, and everyone's thinking LeBron is the best player in the league right now. So like that kind of dominance versus if you're averaging 18 and 12, you looked at more of a Chris Paul kind of guy, and it's not as great. But Magic obviously is significantly better than that. But I'm just saying the difference in those points that you can get and keeping those assists and still being able to facilitate and get your own shit, it makes you impossible to guard. Because if you're getting all of these points, everyone has to worry about you, and they're gonna have to start double teaming, and that's when Magic is probably at his best because you're able to facilitate so easily after that. Because you're drawing 2, Magic's always gonna get the make the right play and get the open shot. So if Magic is averaging 6 to 7 more points, because he's more aggressive, it's just a hard. Now you don't know what to do. Now you have to scheme differently. Like before, you were guarding Magic more to worry about the pass, so you're not really double teaming him as much. He's maybe getting easier layups and stuff, but they're okay with that because they rather him score than pass. But then now that he's able to score whenever he wants, and then just get the ball to anyone he wants is. And look, you got a little look at you, Magic. Able to shoot a little bit. Look at you. But what do you think? You think that the scoring part is overrated? Because I think that changes his whole. If he was able to do that his whole career, he probably would have won more.
Yeah, I agree. You think? Actually, wait. I don't know. I don't think. I'm happy that he was so unselfish.
Oh no, yeah, that made it.
I'm happy that he wasn't always that dominant scorer to begin because I just think it made his whole career arc better. Like him having to grow through it more. Because then by this time he's fucking ready.
Mm-hmm.
He's like it was like such a well done full grooming for Magic, right?
Yeah.
Because this guy that we're watching right here is totally different than the guy from the rookie year. Like playing a completely different play style, as you were talking about. Like, and you can see it as you're watching.
Yeah, it's so difficult to guard. It's so difficult to stop. Like for a coach to have to game plan against. That's why it's so hard to stop LeBron because it's like in 2015 when LeBron was by himself pretty much. Steve Kerr literally said, "Let him score as much as he wants. We don't want him to pass. So we're gonna leave him on one-on-ones and we're gonna try to figure out how to win the game that way." With Magic is a similar situation where you have to give him one or the other because what you're going to try to give him is the scoring to make it easier. But Magic was just so good at getting everyone involved and just starting that fast break. It's just very hard to stop. Like you can't expect a coach to game plan against that one person, especially when you have other great players around them. It's just impossible.
True.
Oh, is this?
I was just watching him be hobbled. I was like, oh.
I don't even know.
Seems fine.
Know he got injured. He seems perfectly fine.
Times.
Hey, my man, shooting a three. Hey.
But much to what that was exactly to your point, and like this is.
Because you see that they played him on the pass there, and so he got an open ass three. Like that shit. That's why it becomes very difficult to stop him because now. You're like, I don't know what the fuck he's gonna do. Like, is he gonna score? Is he gonna shoot? Is he gonna score? Or is he gonna pass? Like, you can't know what to do. So in those situations, he's always gonna get the best shot available, either with him or his teammates. And I think that's what made Larry. That's what made Larry seem like he was better than him for that 5-year span. Or that's a 5 to 6 year span.
We're about to get to one of the most famous plays in the history of basketball.
Yes, I love this. It's one of my favorite clips ever.
7 seconds left, right? I know this is one of your favorite moments because we're going to talk about Kareem and how open he was. Second. But here we go. Right now, mind you, when we pause this right here. So, Kevin McHale, right here, this man, this white guy, right here, that left foot, the inside foot that he's planting on to try and jump is broken right down the middle. Like, this is my foot, right down the middle. Like, right fucking here. Here's my foot. Fucking right in the middle. If you try and jump on a broken foot, you're not going to get the lift that you want out of that shot or out of that block, jump shot, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be very difficult to to like do anything. You're not gonna get any kind of peak jump. So that's who switches on to Magic Johnson. So with that in mind, and I don't know if Magic knows that at the time, but I mean, you got to know to some extent. Like obviously he's playing hurt. You got to know, like as an athlete, and especially being mad. I would assume that he's had some inkling that Mikhail's not 1,000%.
But Mikhail's also not that super athletic though. Like I don't know how he wasn't gonna be quick enough to like. I don't know how. Like sure, like you can say that after the fact, but I mean, I just think this play, no matter what, you're gonna win. Look, you have 3 seconds on the clock. Magic, and that's the biggest thing to me. Magic goes nut in this play, and it's because he has that mentality that he's gonna score and he's gonna make what he thought was the right play. But I'm sure he saw Kareem and he was like, nah, fuck that. I'm getting this moment and I'm solidifying my career. So especially against the fucking Celtics, he was like, fuck all that. I'm gonna dog walk these motherfuckers and I want all the credit. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Having that scoring mentality gets you that. Like if Magic really wanted to, he would have had Kareem he would have given Kareem an open dunk because of that mentality there. And I feel like that's what is the difference with him scoring 6 to 7 more points is that right there. Like he wouldn't in the first finals where he dribbles out the clock, he was not thinking score first, and he literally says it in the documentary. He says that. He says, I'm not making the same mistake twice. And he was like, I'm shooting this ball. And the first time he loses, the second time he wins because of that thought process. And I think that makes you a greater player is when you can have that scoring ability, but then still be the greatest passer ever.
I can't believe how open Kareem is now that I have this pause.
I've seen this so many times because I used to argue it all the time because I'm a huge Kobe fan. I don't know if anyone's noticed yet, but freaking I would always talk shit about how Magic was also a nut and but I was just being ignorant. I was a young kid, but I was like, this man is a nut. The biggest shot of his career was the nuttiest shot in the world because he had an open ass, the greatest center in the world, wide open, and he didn't pass him the ball. Because Kobe would have passed the ball there, just so y'all know.
MJ literally did pass the ball in that situation.
Oh yeah, see.
You remember when we do MJ's, I'll pull the whole game thing out. But he did the double nickel in the double nickel game when he's got 55 points to win the game. He does a turnaround fade, and then when he's in the middle of the shot, he passed it right down to the. I think it's still Bill Wellington or something funny there, something like that. But I just think unbelievable, and that changed the whole series. That flipped it. That made the whole series completely different.
Yeah. You want to know what's really interesting to me with Magic is everyone talks about how great he was, and I agree he's one of the greatest players ever, but he was not a good defender at all. Like he literally was the epitome of he played one side of the ball. Yeah. Like he tried, but I mean he wasn't a good defender at all. And you could see it throughout his career. He didn't win. He wasn't on any all defensive teams in his whole career. And I think that just gets lost in the sauce with everything else that he does. Because that shit always matters to everybody, with every other player we talk about.
Look, let's listen to this. This is minutes after. I want to see what he says. I'm curious.
Out of it. Well, of course, you get down because they're up 15, but that's the mark of this team all season. We've been coming back. We didn't get down on ourselves. We just had to get tougher on defense, and then we started finally hitting some shots on offense.
Did you think it was a conscious decision on their part to get more physical with you guys?
Well, it was a conscious effort on our part, too. I thought that we came out maybe over-aggressive. We were missing easy layups, easy shots because we were so up. So we had to calm ourselves down, get back into our game. And we finally did that, in the latter part of the third on into the fourth quarter. But you got to give us credit. We played great defense, and we really boxed out.
You're in need, Magic. They're very tender. They have given you problems before. How does it feel now in preparation for Thursday night?
Well, it's still sore, but we came and hit me on the side of my knees, but it's all right.
Can you win it Thursday?
Sports is so different than it is now. How is James Brown not aware of what just like, and for that matter, like you and I are talking about this, and this is known as the famous hook shot, the junior Skyhook. And this brother is just talking like it's business as usual.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting to hear him be like, I can't, it was an incredible shot. I knew Kareem was wide open, but like that's how someone would answer it today. Or just a little bit like this.
He was like, "Fuck that," I had to do what I had to do. Yeah.
This is a heart attack, and this is like the Kobe. This is like the Kobe logic: job finished, job not finished.
No. Yep.
And that's
with
it.
all the shits. That's why you gotta respect Magic.
That shit is so interesting. I just think that was interesting. That was really interesting. I haven't heard a lot of these like post games because you usually don't get them. Yeah. Shout out to, I'm pretty sure this is House of Highlights for this one. Shout out to House of Highlights for coming up with the quality content. But I just think that's so. I think that question gets answered differently in 2020, but that's whatever.
For sure. I think, because at that point they're famous, but they're not like. It's not that crazy yet. Like, isn't it? Because it was once that Dream Team happened that everything started like to.
Well, that's when it happened internationally, but I mean the ratings were changing by this time. By '87, the rating. I mean, that microphone is a CBS microphone. Like they're over at this point. It's not on tape delay anymore.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know that, but I meant like, I just felt like it wasn't. Now it's just so it's such a huge, like NBA is arguably the top sport right now. Or top 3 easily, and before they were probably still on the back burner to NFL and probably soccer and all that other shit. Like I think that the egos of these players aren't that crazy yet, because like, do you think Magic Johnson maybe he is. Maybe I'm wrong. He's probably like, yeah, I'm still that nigga. At this point, he's like fucking mad hoes, and he's getting mad hoes. He's getting HIV. He's doing all that shit.
Oh, in '87, this is like I'm going to the mansion every weekend in the summer. We winning this chip. I'm getting all the topless women. You know what I mean?
The craziest thing was I was hearing him have an interview and talk about the I know this is like off topic, but it's still about his career, so it doesn't matter. But he was having an interview talking about like the things that he's done wrong, like in his like whatever the hell, and he was like, yeah, there's times that I'll just have 6 women at a time. And he said, that was their fantasy, and the lady interviewing him said, you sure that wasn't just your fantasy? He was like, yeah, a little bit of mine too, but like I was just like, man, like you're saying this on live TV, like this is crazy. Yeah, like it was different back then for sure.
The 80s the 70s and the 80s were, so I've heard, were wild and crazy times. I wasn't even thought of yet, so. Yeah.